these, you know.
And we'll leave that door open tonight because of
some
the crowd. And
evaluations. One of the
if
things that's
if you guys out in the back want to come in and stand here, that's feel free.
between meetings.
Okay, I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Education, CUSD 201, today, January 14, 2014. If we could have roll call, please, Mrs. McMahon.
Mr. Armstrong?
Here.
Ms. Caparelli?
Here.
Mrs. Charlton?
Here.
Mrs. Hancock? Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mrs. Knapbush?
Here.
Mr. Price?
Here.
If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda, one of the best things we get to do, student recognition. Do we want to start with Mr. Baldwin?
Thank you, Mr. Carey and the Board of Education. We're going to begin tonight by recognizing our Illinois State Scholars, and Ms. Lauren O'Connor, one of our guidance counselors, is going to introduce the students and say a brief word about each one of them.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. It's my great honor and privilege to announce the Class of 2014 Illinois State Scholars. Each year, the Illinois Student Assistance Commission recognizes young men and women who have truly exceeded the academic expectation. This honor is bestowed on approximately the top 10% of students in the state of Illinois. This year, we are very fortunate in that over 12% of our senior class has been recognized as Illinois State Scholars. Scholars, when I announce your name and future plans, please come forward and receive your certificate from Mr. Balderman, which has been provided to you by the Illinois Student Assistance Commission. Devin Alexander. Devin plans to pursue a major and career in mechanical engineering. Devin is considering a number of four-year institutions as well as the prestigious Pathways to Engineering program offered through the College of DuPage. Catherine Charlton. Katie plans to attend the University of California, Santa Cruz to study film and music. She hopes to establish a career in scoring films, vocal performance, or animation. Go Banana Slugs. Carly Deneen Griffin will attend either the University of Michigan or Northwestern University to study creative writing and literature. Carly plans to pursue a career as a book editor. Timothy Dahl is currently undecided on his major, though he's passionate about many things. Tim plans to attend either the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign or an Ivy League institution, and unfortunately he is not here with us this evening. Margaret Meg Fredericks plans to pursue a major and career in the field of architecture. Meg is considering the University of Notre Dame and the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Melissa Missy Frigeau hopes to pursue a major in the sciences. She is considering the University of Chicago and Northwestern University. Jacob Jones plans to study biology and hopes of establishing a career in scientific research. Jake is considering Bradley University and the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. John Kelly. John is undecided of his major at this time, but we're confident he will be successful in whatever field he chooses. He plans to attend Indiana University of Bloomington or the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Haley Leckelt plans to study the dramatic arts in college and pursue a career as a professional actor. Haley plans to attend either North Central College or Illinois Wesleyan University. Joseph McDermott. Joe plans to attend Lewis University to study ecology, and he will continue on a career path in the field of ecology. Maria Preet, who is also unfortunately not present this evening, will attend Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville, where she plans to study business administration in hopes of pursuing a career in event planning. Audrey Proctor plans to pursue a major in geography. Audrey will attend either New York University or DePaul University next fall. Sabrina Scott plans to study pre-medicine in her undergraduate program, with plans to attend medical school and become a surgeon. Sabrina plans to begin her education at the College of DuPage and continue on to DePaul University. Brett Sybil. Brett will attend the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign in the fall, where he plans to study business and accounting. And he is also unfortunately not present this evening. Elena Vanderkar is at this time considering a number of institutions, including Bradley University as well as the University of Illinois at Chicago. Rachel Weber plans to study biology and continue on to medical school. Rachel will attend either the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign or Purdue University. Once again, it is my great honor to present to you the Westmont High School Class of 2014 Illinois State Scholars.
There we go, that's much better. Show your beautiful faces.
Smile. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Which one, Weber or
We
Vanderkar?
get to be a part of it.
In the red dress and the blue? Okay. Really? Overachieving.
Our wonderful band director, Mr. Hank Vaughn, could not be present tonight. He sends his apologies, but he wants to. He wrote a few words to recognize another outstanding student, and that's Jack Gordon. He is preparing for the Purdue Jazz Festival this evening. That's why Mr. Vaughn could not be present. Jack's selection as an ILMEA All-State Future Music Educator is a tremendous honor for both Jack and the program at Westmont High School. Jack was selected based on an evaluation of his performance techniques and an essay on his philosophy of education and future goals in the field. He was selected as one of only 40 students from across the state who will be able to experience these events. Jack will be attending clinics and concerts given by presenters and ensembles from across the country to better prepare him for a career in music after his time here in Westmont. To the best of Mr. Vaughn's knowledge, Jack is the first student from Westmont High School to have received this honor, and Mr. Vaughn sees great things to come as he heads out into the world to represent Westmont. We look forward to continuing to hear about his success story, and we thank the Board of Education for honoring Jack tonight. Jack Gordon. We not only have so many great students, we also have some great faculty and coaches. And at this time, I'm going to have just a wonderful teacher and coach, Mr. Steve Wolf, come up and talk about the members of the cross-country team that both represented Westmont High School at the state tournament this year. So, Coach Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Balderman. I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to thank the school board for allowing me the opportunity to coach these fine young men and women. It truly does make my day when I'm able to meet with them after school and work out with them. So it's really a pleasure. They are such dedicated, hard-working young men and women. And it's nice to see when their hard work and dedication pays off. We just got done with that cold snap, but if we go back to August when this all began, we were practicing in some 90-degree weather, and I remember we had to actually cancel a meet because it was too hot. So how things have changed. They worked really hard. They put in a lot of miles over the summer. They were running double practices, getting up and running at 6:30 in the morning, well into, October when it was getting really dark in the morning. So certainly the effort was there. And as I said, it's really nice to see that it all paid off for them. We advanced out of the regional and the sectional, so it's unique to have both teams qualify, and that really made it extra special. I'd like to begin by recognizing the boys. We don't have all of them here tonight. There are a lot of other commitments. Jazz band was one of them, and basketball, and these young athletes are involved in so many different things. But we have, I believe, 3 of the guys here tonight, so if they would step forward. Nick Day, Anthony Alessi, and Mitch Parada. Nick Day is a junior, and he's been on the team for 3 years. And he returned to state. He had some state experience, both in cross country and track from last year, as did Anthony Alessi, another junior. They were the backbone of the team. But we were very fortunate to pick up a newcomer this year, and that was junior Mitch Parada. So these 3 young men, were our 1, 2, 3 runners, and did just a wonderful job. And they were regional champs, and then represented Westmont downstate, where they came in 20th place. I'd also like to mention the 3 other men that were on the team that couldn't be here tonight. We had a newcomer, Anthony Cordero, was a junior, and then we had our 2 seniors that couldn't be here tonight, Tim Abaticola and Eric Peterson. So that's our boys team.
Coach.
All right, thanks. And it looks like we're represented by about half of our girls' team, so if our girls that are here could come up. We had, let's see, Maggie's not here tonight. Annie Carlson was, I believe she's playing basketball. Emma Jean's at jazz band, but Brittany's in the audience, so Brittany, come on up. And Michelle Lowney, freshman, is here. I don't see Katie out there unless I missed her. Katie Muncie is a freshman. Victoria Thomas, I know, is also involved in jazz band. And Elena, I saw, is right there. The girls' team was a little bit different because a lot of new faces this year. We had a very small team last year, and we kind of doubled our numbers this year, but it was with a lot of inexperience. We had a few veterans, but there was a lot of inexperience. But again, they worked really hard. They set their goals high, and it was nice to see them achieve it with those goals. So Brittany Ironman's a sophomore. This was her first year running cross country. She ran all summer with us and did just a phenomenal job for us. Michelle Lowney is a freshman. She was thrown into the varsity mix, from day one, and held her own with the varsity girls and did a really nice job. And Elena, even though she's a senior, this was her first year running cross country. So even though there was a lot of inexperience, they came through like troopers and did a wonderful job for us. And they also qualified and finished 20th in the state. So congratulations to the girls as well.
Thank you again for recognizing our students. They really are not only accomplished in their fields, they're really great citizens during the school day too, and leaders in their own right. So thank you for taking the time to recognize them. I know the families appreciate it. Thank you to all the parents who came out too and supporting us along the way. You have some great young people.
We try not to take it personally when there's a mass exodus of our meeting. If anyone wants to stay, you certainly can.
Close the door on your way out.
Got it.
Questioning all kinds of equipment
That's
issues
later.
today.
I understand. Great night. Happy New Year. Pizza next month.
Pizza.
Wasn't it?
I'm so hungry.
Oh, okay.
So I've still been going through webmail to confirm.
The email on that?
Are you doing anything closed?
Colleen,
Works fine. I looked at it.
do me, when you walk out, since you're almost, would you push the door? Would you just push the door on your, oh, you'll, okay.
Frustrating.
Hold the shades.
I wonder if webmail is part of my problem.
Everybody leave.
Trade a bunch of emails.
Yeah, I did check. Just for Bill.
Did you guys recover from the Metro travesty?
I'm very.
Want me to compare your settings to mine?
Are they back on track yet?
I
think, yeah, today, finally.
Real close.
It's ridiculous.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment. I'm- Anybody want to?
Linda?
Okay, then, the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
I'm sorry, does anybody have any questions about it? Then the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Number 1, personnel recommendations. 2, approval of student tours. And 3, approval of additional December 2013 expenditure report.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Ms. Caparelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hancock?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Okay, next item, presentation of monthly financial statements.
All right, the financial statements are attached for your review. Just to recap, we did receive another installment of the 2012 tax levy in the month of November. And to date, we have collected 98.2% of the taxes. It's just slightly higher than the percentage we've received over the last 3 years. So we should be on par to receive, over 99% of the tax levy. And again, the state has vouchered payments that have not been released to the district, and to the amount of about $351,000 overall. Again, we've been going through this for the last 3 years. In the O&M fund, revenues are about 8% lower than the prior year average at this point last year, and that's just because we hadn't yet received the SACID rental revenue in November, and last year we had. So, and then expenditures are pretty much where we expect them to be at this time of year. The investment schedule is also attached, and we've got not quite $10 million of investments outstanding. And as you can see, interest rate is, averaging 0.15%. We aren't seeing rates. They're starting to move up just slightly right now, but that's, the rate that, we're projecting next year in our 5-year plan. It's in line with what we're receiving right now. And hopefully we'll start to see some of those rates move up slightly over the next couple months. Does anyone have any questions?
Just a quick question. Do you think the rates will be affected if the Fed keeps changing monetary policy, or is this just naturally people are starting to feel better about the world and things are creeping up? I mean,
I'm not really sure, Shannon. They've been so low for so long that, nobody anticipated that we would have, 2 years ago we were saying these are historic lows, and they just continue to be really, really low right now. And I'm not sure what impact that will have.
I was wondering, with all the excessive snow and cold and so forth we've had, is any of that accounted for in the 6% change in the O&M fund?
No, this is just through November.
Just through November.
And
so
then that overtime won't hit until January. We'll pay that in January, so you won't see that until the February board meeting.
Is it more than expected at this point?
No, it's,
No?
yeah,
Okay.
it's fine.
We're still on
and,
track, okay.
Yeah, we have overtime built into the budget. The last couple of years, we haven't used it because we've had mild winters. What'll be interesting to see is because we've had such extreme cold, what that does to some of our utilities, though.
Okay, all right.
Okay, that's that. Okay, so then the next item on the agenda is junior high and high school and senior high school climate. Colin.
How do we get this on?
They'll take care of it for you.
How do we advance it?
Just hit the space.
Spacebar?
You want to get some of those kids back in?
Okay. I got it, I think. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having us here tonight. This is something that I really look forward to speaking about, and when we met with John and Amy over the last, today and for the last few weeks to talk about this, Kevin and I think it's something that we're really here to celebrate. We think we have outstanding culture in our buildings, and it really is a result of all the hard work that you all put in. I think the tone that Mr. Carey sets for our district, the work of our administration, all across the board, district level, and with all of us in the buildings, our teachers who really care for our students, our parents, who I find to be extremely supportive, the students themselves, who are quite wonderful. I know they're adolescents and sometimes young adolescents, so they're not perfect, but overall they're pretty amazing, I have to say, having worked in education for close to 30 years from now and traveled all over the country and spent time in so many different schools. I think the cultures that we have in our building are extraordinary, and I would welcome anybody to come in and spend time with us and see what's going on, because I'm telling you, it's a dream to work in these schools because of the people that we work with and the tone that's set. But that starts with the school board and the support that you give us. A highly supportive, student-centered school board. And on every agenda, Mr. Carey talks about whatever it takes for our students. And those aren't just empty words. That's what we really try to live by, to show our students that we love them, that we care about them, we respect them deeply, and we would do whatever it took if it was going to be good for them. And I think that's really resonating with our young people. I think they get it. I think they really know that since we care so deeply about them, they don't want to disappoint. They want to do the right things. So that's part of it. But it's important. A positive culture doesn't just occur on accident. It really comes from a lot of work from a lot of people. Our philosophy, and I know the junior high is going to present some of their information and their great programs and their success, but we really want to overwhelm our students with respect and compassion and positive encouragement. There's some great research out there that says that specific, genuine, positive feedback is more powerful than money as an incentive to get people motivated to do the right things. And I think that's the way. We really try to recognize all the time the great work, not only of our students, but when our teachers really care about our young people, we let them know how much we appreciate that. We have extremely high expectations, not only for academics, but for the way that we conduct ourselves in our relationships in the building every day. And I think that, once again, translates into success. We demonstrate. I think, overall, our students know we would do whatever was right for them. We try to send that message all the time. We care about them. And, you know, we're trying to convince them that the most important thing they can do is be compassionate members of a community and good citizens. And we're constantly sending that message to them. And we show them, I think, that we care with the way we conduct ourselves every day. So, when it comes to suspensions, which I know is a question, why are the suspensions down? This is something that we as an entire team and as a community should celebrate. This is a powerful, beautiful thing, because student learning is our main priority, and we know that. When they are removed from the learning environment through a suspension, we lose that opportunity. So we believe in high expectations and follow through and accountability and consequences. But ask any young person, if they had the choice, you know, if they're going to be out of school for a day, where they can sit at home, sleep in late, because a lot of their parents are working jobs, they're unattended, or if they have to give up a couple of Friday afternoons, they'd much rather give up the day. But we think a stronger consequence is to hold them after school on Friday, if it's need be. But the truth of it is, overall, the culture's so positive, that rarely happens. Now, there are occasions where their actions are so, you know, that are not acceptable, and we have to send a message, and and maybe to them and to the rest of the community, they have to spend a few days out. But to have a reductions and suspensions, in my opinion, is something to absolutely celebrate. And it didn't happen on accident. And the junior high is going to share their great initiatives in a minute, but we start from day one trying to establish that culture and talking about how the most important thing we need from them is to be compassionate to one another. We hit that in the beginning of the year, twice a month assemblies, our daily interactions. We try to be highly visible in classrooms, between class periods, during the lunch period, at their events all the time, building relationships with them. Our school-wide initiatives, and you're familiar with them, really emphasize the idea that we're here to be good to one another and have a positive culture and community. Our school size is amazing. There's such an advantage to being this size school district because you get to know students on such a personal level. And, you know, as Amy said this afternoon, they don't want to disappoint you. They know that you care about them. They don't want to act out. Now, they're adolescents. They make mistakes. But overwhelmingly, they are really amazing young people. The academic supports that you put in place for them. Because often when kids feel despair or alienated, they're going to act out because they don't see any hope for success. But I think there's so many supports and interventions in place that sometimes kids who would maybe, you know, give up on their schoolwork or give up or not care, they're supported in success, so they're more likely to do the right things. The relationships, as I talked about, the communication. We've really talked to our teachers with our PLC initiative about whatever it takes. And we're sincere about that. And that, you know, it's our responsibility to make sure students learn and are successful. You know, we're not going to make excuses. If students are failing, we don't blame it on the students. We don't blame it on their circumstances. It's our responsibility to make sure they learn. And I think the faculty has really embraced that. That's a powerful, I think the most powerful piece of a professional learning community. So I love this graphic. This is a strong symbol of our team's success from the school board down to the parents, the community, and our students. Our suspensions out of school have dropped dramatically, as you can see, you know, fluctuating between 80, 90, 140, 70, 80 to, as of today, 6 out of school suspensions for a school year at the high school. And there's similar results that John and Amy will talk about in a minute. But this is a point of celebration. And this is a point that says we want our students in school, we want them engaged in learning, and when we're putting them out, they're not learning. So it's a product of two things. First of all, we have the culture where our students are not acting out very often. And second of all, we find alternative consequences because we want them learning. That's our main focus and priority. So I'll have Kevin talk a little bit more about some of the things he does, and he's been highly involved in different kinds of interventions. But we have really reduced the suspensions, and I think that's a direct result of the culture we've built, of our proactive nature, and really setting a culture where there's high expectations for behavior, but there's even higher results when it comes to really putting forth this idea that we're compassionate, we're a respectful community, we care deeply about you, we would do anything we could to make sure you're successful, and I think students buy into that. So I'll let Kevin talk a little bit about some of the consequences we give students in lieu of an out-of-school suspension and some of the other positive information.
Thanks, Jack. I'd like to also start off tonight by saying thank you to the school board, Mr. Carey, for giving us this opportunity to basically show off what's been going on at the high school and junior high. Some of the things
Can
that...
I just interrupt you for the few people who are watching that don't know you? Could you introduce yourself?
Oh, hi. Yes, I'm Kevin Weck. I'm one of the assistant principals and dean of students at the high school.
Thank you.
So just to kind of start off tonight, following up with what Mr. Balderman had to mention, some of the data that we have in terms of student discipline. Some of the things that we've had at the high school so far this semester, or this school year, has been 6 out-of-school suspensions. Now, I kind of equate an out-of-school suspension equivalent with 2 Friday detentions. And one of the nice things about the Friday detentions that we offer is that it's supervised and it's after school on a Friday, and it really focuses students in terms of getting back on track, remediation, and getting some one-on-one time with someone who can help them in terms of their schoolwork. And out of school, like Mr. Balderman had mentioned earlier, it's unsupervised, it's not necessarily academic, and it's taking away from our focus of student learning. Some other things that we have, over 100 detentions have been provided students so far this school year, and that's including Friday detentions and after school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Also, we have over 30 parent-student administration conferences that we've had so far this school year, with approximately a little bit more than 20 students. So that just tells you right there that we're really getting parents involved, that we're being relentless in terms of communicating with our students what the expectations are, working with them in terms of making sure that they understand what those expectations are, and that we're going to hold them accountable for their actions in the school. And also, more than 96% of our students have not received a major discipline referral. So that tells you that 4% or less of our students have accrued basically, something that we thought was major, severe, that we had to bring parents in, we had to communicate in terms of what the expectations were in the school. And we think that that's something that's evident in terms of the success that we've had at the high school so far this school year. And that's something we thought was important to celebrate. Also, I wanted to show you guys this. This is a document that I put together this school year in terms of holding students accountable and making sure that they understand that we will make sure that we follow through with them. In this document, all it was for me in terms of keeping track of student behavioral issues, what incident that occurred, the date, and also the following up with them in terms of when they served that Friday detention. I have also a similar sheet for regular detentions that are 1 hour after school. All this states is basically that students needed to make sure that they understood the consequence that was handed to them, that they needed to serve it by a specific time. If they didn't serve it by that time, that there could be additional consequences that followed. And that communication has helped students understand that we will follow through with them in terms of holding them accountable, and that we will have high expectations for their behavior at the high school. And I think students, it's clarified a lot of uncertainties for them in terms of what's expected, and that they will have to serve that detention in a timely manner. And I think it's just been helpful in terms of communication between us and students. Okay, and at this time, I'd like to transition to our wonderful administrators from the junior high.
Thanks
John and
very much,
Amy.
Mr. Weck.
No problem.
I am John Jonak, the principal of Westmont Junior High School.
And I'm Amy Quattro, I'm the assistant principal.
And once again, thank you for having us here. We're pretty excited. As you look at the junior high and you look at the changes that have occurred in just the last couple of years, I think that what it really comes down to is respect. And the students know that we respect them, they show respect for us as well, and that we're listening to them. So as you know, there were a lot of changes from last year to this year in regards to the schedule, and a lot of those things were what students were looking for. We survey the students on a regular basis, and we listen to them. We make changes based off of the conversations that we have with them. So I think that that's a big part of it. Another thing is being proactive, like what Jack and Kevin were talking about. If you look at when I had met with our teachers before I had even begun really, they said that tardies were a huge issue. And just in this simple way of bringing music into the class or into the school during passing periods for 2 minutes and 45 seconds and the last 15 seconds being silent, students knew to get to class. And seriously, tardies have been reduced, so significantly. It's amazing. So it's about taking those steps, and in those steps, some of the interventions that we've taken, whether it comes to tardies or whether it comes to disciplinary actions. At the same time, there are some actions, there are some decisions that a young man or a young lady might make, and those are non-negotiables, and they need to be held accountable to that and then learn from that. But if we look at the data, and by the way, I do want to mention that the first column there, basically, the out-of-school suspensions for 2012 to 13 should actually be 22, and the in-school should be 55. So there is a shift there. Apologize for that mistake. So if you look at our out-of-school suspensions for the last 4 years, and looking at our in-school suspensions, and that is for last year and then going back 3 years prior. Now, we want to compare apples to apples. So when we look at the 2013 data, you'll see in the next, with the comparative data, that it's gone down significantly as far as our out-of-school suspensions, 18, 13, 22, and down to 7. And that's as of the end of the first semester or the second quarter in that case. Also, our in-schools have gone down significantly as well. We believe that's part of the relationships that we've built with students that I've already remarked upon. And then Amy's going to just talk a little bit about what some of our non-negotiables are.
John and I share a very similar philosophy, and we share the duties of being a dean at the junior high. And so it's great that we're on the same page, and we're definitely on the same page with the high school as well. We believe in that, in the restorative justice piece of consequencing, so not just focusing on the actual consequence, but focusing on how can we change the behavior and what can we do to eradicate the behaviors that we don't want to see with our students. So we really take that proactive approach in getting to know each and every one of our students. We stand out in the hallways, we make ourselves visible, we get to know things about each of our students. So we can say to them, hey, how was cross country, or how are your violin lessons? So they know that we do care. We will pull them for lunch. We'll just pull random students and have them eat lunch with us and ask them how their day is going. And why are you laughing?
Just thinking about my lunch date yesterday. It was an interesting one. So.
Yes, sometimes they are very interesting, but we find out a lot of information, not just personally about the students, but about what we can do to help improve the culture in our school. So it's been a very exciting year for us. Last year we were getting our feet wet working together. We've got our groove going, and we really do think that the results in what you're seeing in the lessening of suspensions, out of school suspensions, is a direct result of the work that we've done with the students. So what are our non-negotiables? Sometimes the kids make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes are absolutely non-negotiable in our minds. So if there's fighting, if a student lays a hand on another student, it's unacceptable, and they will be out of school suspended. Bringing weapons in, theft, gang activities, tobacco, alcohol, or drug possession, consumption, that, of course, those are our out of school suspensions. There are other instances where we might give in-schools, and we would give the in-school suspensions because we do have the space in our office for that, for the students to be not in class, but to be there to be able to work on the work that they need to do. And the teachers are excellent. They'll come down on their plan period, they'll work with the students, they'll give them the work that they need. So that's an alternative that we have at the junior high that we use to our advantage and for the students' advantage as well. So what are some of the actions that we've done to be proactive and really grow our culture? John talks about the standard all the time and what our standard is for our students. If you want to talk a little bit about it now.
Sure. Well, you all know that we've had ROAR before, but we base our school goals around what we want to see from our students. And the standard comes down to what's acceptable and what's appropriate behavior in school and what's inappropriate behavior. And so we start off the school year, we started it last year, and we've added on to it this year. We're going to change the curriculum as the time goes by, so 7th and 8th graders don't have to repeat everything. But it's what's appropriate, what's inappropriate in the school. And as we learned during Rachel's Challenge, you cannot not model. And so our faculty is well aware of that as well. And so we're constantly meeting with our team leaders. How are we doing on the standard? Do we need to revisit it or not? Sometimes there will be an E period that's based on the standard, or they'll be reviewing it during Excel time as well. So it's something that just doesn't get hit once. It's hit throughout the year.
We also have a mentoring program in which our teachers are volunteer mentors for our students, and they'll meet with them before school, after school, at lunch. They just really go, our teachers go out of their way to identify students in need of mentoring, and then to actually go through and follow through with the process from the beginning of the school year to the end. So that's a wonderful piece that we put in place for our students. Parents as team members, we too, just like the high school, we are bringing in parents constantly to meet with the teams of teachers, to meet with us, to really show that we're a team in changing these behaviors. Rachel's Challenge. You all know Rachel's Challenge. Thank you so much again for that. We have the 4 Club developed, and our students are working hard. We have a lot of students in that club. They're being proactive in monitoring their own behaviors in the school. Excel, we are starting to use our Excel classes.
Can I interrupt? Well, you said 4. Could you just say what
Friends of
that-
Rachel.
Oh, Friends of Rachel. I'm sorry. You're right.
Sure.
Friends of Rachel. Our Excel class, we are starting to really hit those social emotional standards in that class. So we're constantly reinforcing the behaviors we'd like to see in Excel. We have an amazing social worker, and we also have an outside agency that comes in and works with some of our students, and that is 360. They're called 360. And then finally, our SRO, our school resource officer, Detective Mike Weibler, he is at our school almost every day providing mentorship for students that need it. He contacts the family. He goes to their homes. He really goes out of his way to provide mentoring for our students as well.
And once again, as it was introed by Jack, it is a team effort. It's across the board, and we couldn't do it if it wasn't for you and for the parents, and the students are part of it as well. And importantly, the teachers. Our teachers really, they go out of their way to be available and to build these relationships with the students. And so, do you have any questions for us?
I have a couple of quick questions. First, the in-school suspensions, are parents notified?
Yes, they are.
And does that include the Friday detentions? I'm looking at the high school too.
Friday detentions? No, not necessarily. That's not necessarily communicated with parents.
Why?
Sometimes it's built up. If they miss 2 detentions, then it could become a Friday detention. So it's sometimes, depending on the situation, if it was a severe punishment in terms of like we thought it was one of the excessive tardies or something along the lines of behavior within the school district, then we would call parents and get them involved, and that's typically when we have them come in. We have some of those parent meetings.
Okay. Well, I'd kind of like to see parents notified anytime we're keeping a child after school. I think that would be important. I think the parents should know that, and I think they should know why. Okay. I'm going to just make one kind of general statement here. All this sounds wonderful, and I'm glad we have a whole new team. I know that the culture is changing dramatically, but you know, we're thinking of the history of the building, and you can see where the histories of these buildings have been. So that's where my biggest concern came in. When I saw the dramatic drop, I had to ask myself, okay, did the kids really change that much over a school year, or are we not enforcing the rules as tightly as we should be? Okay, and I'm just going to be honest, I'm still unsure if that's what's happening or not. Okay, just being honest, it's a very strong concern coming from the history of what we've heard other parents tell us throughout the years, and now we see this dramatic drop. We as a school board, at least me, I have to be concerned when I see that dramatic of a change. I truly hope that that's what's going on in the schools. I truly hope that. So
we actually just took a survey of our students. Well, actually, you can explain that because you just.
I did, and we were asking I surveyed approximately 40 students. Because we're already starting to make plans for next year, believe it or not, and we wanted to hear from them what's been going well, what would you want to remain the same for next year, what would you like to see different for next year, if there's something we can add, what's the best thing about Westmont Junior High School, and I was I'm in love with the school, so it's easy for me, but I was still expecting just maybe some negativity, overwhelmingly just very positive remarks that I was getting back as far as what's going on in the school, and they love it. But that doesn't mean that we can't improve. We can always improve. But I know that from what I've seen this year so far and the interactions that I've had, it's very positive. That we still have growth, though.
Okay.
I really want to take this opportunity to appreciate your concern. I mean, that's your job, right? And you're deeply concerned about the climate in the building. I say without hesitation, I've never seen a better atmosphere. I've been in a lot of places for a long time. And I too, like John said, I love coming to work every day. It is an amazing place. Our kids are amazing. We know, we have a small group of kids who are really struggling and who don't make good decisions. But we still have relationships with them. We know them firsthand. I mean, we know who the 1% of kids who just are struggling academically and behaviorally, but I feel like we know who they are. We know their stories, we know their families, we know what they're struggling with, and they know that we don't accept their nonsense, but they know that we care deeply about them. I think that sends a message to everybody else. We are blessed with great kids in our district. And our parents are extremely reasonable. They're not litigious in nature for the most part. They want to work with the school. We're fortunate to have that. So I'm saying, please believe it. And the numbers are powerful, and it's a testament to what we've all done together. But anybody can come in our buildings. We want people to come see what we have. You're not going to see perfection. There are adolescents who are growing and learning, but it's an amazing place. It really is. And I think the culture is extremely positive. And so and we constantly have to be pushed, but everybody is welcome to come see firsthand. Anybody is welcome, not just board members, but community members, to come see what's going on. We want to show it off. We're very proud of the atmosphere in the building. And you know, I think there were good things going on before, there's no doubt in my mind, but I know it's a wonderful culture, very positive. where we're always, as John said, looking to improve.
Okay.
So thank you for your questions, and just know, I mean, I'm looking you in the eyes right now. We love your kids. We absolutely, it's why we come to work, and we will do anything for them. And to keep them safe, that's our #1 priority. So if you have questions, if you want to come in, whatever it is, we're here for you because we want the best for them.
And with that, I want to mention that to the people that might be viewing at home or seeing this later. The same thing applies. If you know of something that's going on, you know, if you have some concerns or you have some questions, you'd like to meet with any of us and discuss these things, please let us know.
I'd like to add real quick. I think on counterpoint to kind of what you said, Gary, not opposed to what you're saying, but I think there's an option also that previous administrations maybe were too strict or too quick to administer punishments. I can say for myself, I mean, kind of actually in a sense almost relating to what you're saying. At my job, when I was put in a management position at first, after my first review, I had some negative points because I wasn't hard enough on my staff. They said, you know, you weren't reprimanding people enough, stuff like that. I said, well, wait a minute, what are they doing wrong that I'm not coming down on them for? Because, you know, I found it was a lot easier to get to know them and to learn how to deal with them one-on-one and then correct the action as it's happening, or maybe not, you know, just totally come down on them hard, but work with them to correct the action. It's easy when you get to know them and stuff like that. When I was growing up, my school was huge. I was a number. I have no idea who my deans were. They didn't know who I was, stuff like that. You guys, I've seen it firsthand. You know the kids know you. You know, you're real, and you know them, and you're sincere. And I think that goes a really long way. So I think there's a number of factors, but I get what you're saying, and I respect that, and I'm happy with this.
I'm sorry, Shannon, go ahead.
No, I think you were already warmed up.
I honestly echoed Gary's concerns. I was very concerned with the numbers that, you know, dropped like a rock. It's very difficult to say, you know, I don't want to say I'm suspect because it's such a great thing. And as you said, rejoice because there are no, you know, suspensions. It's a great thing. Just want to know that things are being accurately portrayed. And I, you know, there are those kids, and we've all met them, that don't buy into the standard and will never buy into the standard and will never buy into, you know, your warm embrace, Jack. You know, I mean, and those are the kids that, what happens to them? Because while they're not in your line of vision, they are surrounded by kids who they may be making absolutely miserable. And, you know, they may not be in the non-negotiable column, but they're irritating people and those other students and causing disruptions and being confrontational or being argumentative, whether it's with the teacher or whether it's with the other students. Those are, I guess, you know, I'd like to know how those kids are being handled, because it may be only 1% or 0.5%, but they're there, and we know they're there. Great kids. I mean, I wouldn't be here if I didn't love the community and love the kids. But the reality is there are kids out there like that just will never buy into what you're offering. Those, I think, are the ones, you know, you don't want to see them fall by the wayside, but you want to know that that's being addressed.
I'll say part of it is if we consequence them. So, but if you have the suspensions dropped, but if you're a young person who's, you know, doesn't like school to begin with, you're more likely to get in trouble, right? What's more painful, if we're going to be real about it? Coming after school for a couple hours on a Friday or taking a day off of school? The Fridays for us at the high school level are much more painful. I mean, everybody rejoices Friday afternoon, right? We look forward to Friday afternoon. They give up a Friday afternoon for 2.5 hours, and a lot of the students will, that's what their consequence is, versus taking a day off of school where they can sleep in, play video games, and they miss out on their learning. So in this consequence, they still are in classroom, but they have a consequence. And it's not like we're trying just to punish them, as Amy beautifully said. We're trying to get them through their struggles. But I will say this, though, and I understand. Would you, I mean, when you see, I hope, the data from this school year, it's going to blow you away, not just like the suspensions, the graduation rate, the improvement in the advanced placement program, hopefully the test scores. But the idea is this, too. that because we're so small and we're so completely focused on our kids, and you provided us with tremendous resources for interventions, we really know these kids backwards and forwards. And I think a lot of kids who continue to go off the deep end is because when they feel like nobody does care about them. And they have some pretty significant struggles. But when you really get to know their stories and you're there every day demonstrating how much you care about them, it makes it a little tougher for them to keep on being foolish.
I do want to acknowledge, though, that I'm so grateful for those attitudes and those mentalities, because I do think ultimately it will make a huge difference to all the kids.
Just wanted to say thank you very much for your response to these questions. I mean, I know that we've had some very serious conversations about, can this be real? And I, for one, am pleased to see the information that you put together this evening, that it's not just luck or happenstance, that, I mean, there are actual things that you can point to that you are proactively doing that can actually have an impact and effect. And I think that, at least from my perspective on this topic, I wouldn't say relieved, because I think I expected it, but it's good to see what I hoped was true is really true. I mean, you do have a real list of things that are new things and different things, and I think that that's great. So thank you very much for, responding to our, I know, Jack, I appreciated at the beginning, we should be celebrating this, and I think we all agree. But for us, this obviously, you can tell from the questions, was a little bit of a concern topic. And, I just really appreciate how you guys came in and what you've provided us with. And I just think it is kind of interesting that, within the last week or two, the U.S. Department of Education has put out fairly significant set of guidelines study, I don't know what word you want to call it exactly, about reducing the number of out-of-school suspensions and how critical that is. And it's also interesting to see that we are kind of ahead of that curve a little bit. I mean, we're already doing the things and have seen some of the results, and now here comes the U.S. Department of Ed saying, you should really be doing these things. So, I think it's really nice for our district as a whole that we're sort of in front of this.
That was all
topic.
Amy's idea?
Absolutely, of course. It's just good to see us be in front of this topic, because the rules and the policies have gone so far the other way, and so many kids were missing so much time that it's starting to jeopardize things in the other direction. And so anyway, thank you very much.
Are you done? I would like to say, as probably the old timer here, that as somebody who has been in the schools a lot, I have personally witnessed some dramatic changes. And I mean, I really have to say that the four of you, and I know Linda and the other administrators who are not here, are directly responsible for that. And people like the work of this, the committee, the climate committee, Joel has been a part, Gary, and a number of other people. It's addressing that. And I think one of the most important things that we can do is to, rather than constantly punish, is to try to have a climate in a building that is positive. Then you get a kid who, we all know they're not going there by choice, so they're going there because we're sending them. So as long as they're there, let's try to be positive. And I know that every parent in the district parents that way too. We never yell at our children of any kind, right? No. Anyway, I mean, I think the thing is, it's like there is a powerful message to positive, and I have seen it. I have commented on a personal situation that I saw at a football game that the two of you took care of. I was blown away by the respectful way that was handled, a situation that I know in the past would have been handled extremely differently. So I have to thank you for that. So I've seen, personally, from where we were to where we are now, it is a huge difference. And I have to thank Mr. Carey and everybody for all of that. So now I want to comment on a couple things. I think that what might be happening here is the reporting could be, how do I say that? So, there were out of school suspensions, and then so maybe now we don't have as many out of school suspensions. That's fabulous. I think we're all very excited about that. However, I think that one of the questions that Gary had was absolutely on target. I don't think we should ever be suspending our children or having a detention without letting the parents know. Because I think that's a dramatic piece, because if we're looking to the parents for assistance in that, we have to let them know. I mean, I would really not be happy if I found out my child had a Friday suspension or something like that, and I didn't know about it, because then what could I do? I mean, okay, now I'm a parent, so, you know.
Well, I might have misspoke there. So when I said maybe a parent hadn't been notified about the Friday, that document I showed you,
right,
that's based on, I documented when they needed to serve that by. Sometimes students would miss that Friday because they decided after school they would just leave. So that following Friday, I'd remind them, there's a Friday detention that you need to serve. Parents were notified of Friday detentions. Sometimes if they missed like a regular after school on a Monday and a Tuesday, then I told them that they needed to serve that on Friday. So sometimes it would carry over, and that's why that document's so important, is because that's the communication lines that I use to make sure that they understood they needed to serve that. That's the high accountability and expectations that I was holding for them. So that's kind of where that was coming in.
Okay, good. I just wanted to be, you know, to clarify that
and that's one of the things, that's why I had to put that together, because sometimes students would just decide, hey, it's Friday, I'm out of here. So I needed to make sure I communicated with them, hey, this was the reason why you needed to serve that Friday. You missed it last week. You need to make sure you serve it this week. Parents are notified.
Okay.
You know,
if they missed that first one, are parents notified?
If they missed the first Friday?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to call them. Yeah, I didn't call them to tell them that they missed that Friday unless it was something that was pretty dramatic. I gave them the opportunity to go ahead, speak with them, build that relationship, and say, hey, you got another opportunity.
Okay.
We can serve it this Friday. Okay. That's where that was coming in.
Okay.
Because sometimes students do decide that they're going to leave the building without serving their detention, believe it or not.
Well, no, I mean, I think.
Yeah, that did happen. That was one
You did that a few times, right, Marie?
I went to Catholic school.
Kevin, I'm sorry, I got a little lost in there.
Yeah.
So a child gets an in-school suspension or detention. Is the parent notified?
So an after school on a Friday?
No. I did something today, a teacher's giving me a detention. Is the parent notified in any way, shape, or form?
Some depends on the situation. If it's like tardies, excessive tardies that have been tardy for 4 times, that's something I'm working with the student, building a relationship, and that's where I'm saying, hey, you know, after school, I want you to work with Mr. Kemmerling or one of our teachers who's.
I will just suggest, I'll just say this, that I know when I went to high school, if you ever got a detention, there was a notice sent home. Now, in today's email world, I don't see why, if a student gets a detention, there's not some report generated to a parent. There's no way for a parent to follow up on the bad behavior of their student if they don't know what occurred that day in the school. That's my opinion, okay? Not speaking on behalf of everybody, but I believe if a student has been punished during the day, that somehow that parent should find out about it, even if it's a simple email, a phone call, a memo sent home, however you guys want to handle it, but I think that would be very important.
I think we need to represent what's really happening here. Most often that occurs, not every time, and I understand what you're saying. I guess we could call every time. The time we wouldn't call is if a student was late to class and a teacher or Mr. Weck said they're going to stay up there for detention. That's not universally something we call the family on. We can do that in the future. That's not an issue. But I don't want to misrepresent either. The vast majority of the time, if there's a disciplinary situation, we do contact parents and bring them in. And especially if it's anything above a simple tardy, as Kevin said, we've had dozens of parent conferences with our students. And we'll say, you can't return to school tomorrow unless your parents come in and sit down and talk with us. Not just an email or a phone call, face to face.
Okay.
I thank you, Gary, and I know that you wanted to bring in, because I think I feel the same way as a board member and as a parent. Because if we are talking about, like, you know, this team that are around these kids, I think it's imperative that the parents know. Because let me just say, if I found out my kid had a detention that didn't make it on that Friday, we wouldn't get to the next Friday. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So I guess that's what I'm sharing, and I think I know a lot of parents around here would probably be the same way. So I think it's a respect to you that you want to develop that relationship with those students, and I think that's something that you guys do. You excel at, that I don't think was here before. However, I think there still needs to be that reach out to the parents, because let's just play it out. What if the kid, I'm not talking one tardy, let's say tardy for 2 weeks. And what happens, I don't know about your house, but if I found out my kid didn't go on a Friday, and then what if we did something over the weekend that maybe they shouldn't have gone to because they're not doing their job, and their job is to go to school and to do that. So it helps us because we know, okay, now I'm a parent, we know then to follow through and that we all look like a team. Before the days of emails, you know, the kids would come home and like we would not know things. Now, my kid comes home, I already know what, because of the announcements, like what has happened or whatever, and they're like, how do you know? Well, I heard something from the teacher or whatever. So that's a powerful information flow that we can all be on the same track. So.
Just so you know, at the junior high for in-school and out-of-school suspensions, John and I, one of us will call the parents directly. For detentions, it's one person and a team. It could be the teacher that it happened in front of. It could be one of us.
If they refer them to the office, then it'll be us, and usually the teacher will reach out as well.
Okay.
Right. It's at least one person will call home and inform the parent.
And then just one more thing on that. If you know, like this reporting tool that you put together, we now as a board see that, and we weren't seeing that before. So I think that was part of, you know, like following up on something Mary Kay said. It's like, you know, we love these children. We all do. But we all live with them. When they leave your world, they come back to ours. And, you know, they all slip. So to have the numbers, so if we're going from out-of-school suspensions to in-school suspensions, that's a powerful message, and it also tells us of what is happening. You know, does that make sense? So if we know those things, that's fantastic. So I just want to say that, you know, I know hearing this, it does sound, but yeah, I know we have that bad position to do that. But I do think, especially as being around this district as long as I have never seen a more positive environment and culture from everybody. And you know, hats off to everyone who's involved in that. So that's my thing.
I would just like to add, very, very pleased, and I absolutely believe each and every one of you about how you build relationships with students. I've seen you in action. I hear it from my kids. I hear it from other parents. They share their experiences. They're very happy with the style of the leadership and your interactions with their students. I think where we're trying to go, and I think with the Climate Committee, what we've talked about oftentimes is building that positive peer relationship, because that's really where the strength of all of what you do individually with each student, building that relationship, setting a good example, building respect. If we can get that absolutely across the board at the student level, and I know we have it in certain situations, and maybe you feel that that's growing, but how do you assess that? How do you say, yeah, this is happening? We've taken it from the type and style of relationship we have with the student, and it is, the students have picked it up, and now they are demonstrating to each other these behaviors. It's so hard to,
I see that.
It's just an impression. You kind of feel it's happening, but how do you really know that that's happened?
One of the ways, and like I had mentioned, you know, you cannot not model, and we had heard that as a faculty, as a staff, through one of the Rachel's Challenge presenters. But something is, and I don't mean to call it simple, because the Danielson rubric for teacher evaluation is not a simple tool, but something as simple as going into an informal, or going into an informal observation of a classroom, or going into a formal observation of a classroom, and seeing the interactions, not only the teacher to the student and the student to the teacher, but the students with each other. And I have noticed a difference in the short time that I've been here with the interactions with the students. That's just one way that I notice. Obviously, there are our discipline records that we keep as well, but that's just a quick formative tool that I look at to say, okay, how are we doing right now as a school? Not just in so-and-so's classroom, one person's classroom or another, but overall, what would I consider an audit to be if I were to audit the respect throughout the entire school?
And I'll also just give a quick little plug to the Climate Committee, which is meeting next week. So any parents or community members that are interested in this topic and interested in building on the success that is occurring.
And we're writing our SMART goal, right, Joel? Gary?
Absolutely.
Tomorrow? All right.
Joel, when is that?
It is 21st, right?
Correct.
6:30.
6:30. Senior high. Right?
At the high school?
Yes, it's a joint committee meeting.
Joint committee.
So everybody will
Okay.
be there. They'll be a part.
Oh, yeah, that one? Yeah, okay. Did you?
I just want to say thank you for coming tonight and for all that you've done. Appreciate it. And I hear lots of great things. Being a parent, now I'm a parent. I hear lots of great things about the junior high. So, and I see a change. So, thank you. Appreciate it.
I want to follow up on one thing that Joel said. Well, two things. One, I think four of you and others kind of walked into situations that, never mind, you have done a fantastic job, and I think it is showing. I have a question. It just dawned on me with something that, you know how, John, you said to the parents who are watching or who might be watching it to contact us, and I think I know the answer to this, but what do you have in place if, because we all can be watching all the time, but, I think some of the things that happen, this is what I'm talking about where Joel's saying that peer thing, because there's always a time when, like at the lockers or something, or in the gym, that the kids, they know no one's watching and they get that, those 1% that like Mary Kay's talking about. Do the kids have a place to go if they feel something, if they feel that they're seeing something or that they're feeling like they're getting picked on or something? You say the parents should contact. Do the kids have an avenue? And I think I know the answer to that, but I just thought I'd ask that.
Yes, definitely. Well, I would hope our kids think that. I've seen them come to me and come to John every day with things like that. And that's why we do the lunches where we just pick students to have have lunch with us or different things, so they develop that relationship and then they feel more trusting with us, and then they'll open up to us. And so now we don't have that relationship with all students. We can't have lunch with everybody, but we do our best to put ourselves out there to make ourselves visible to the students so they feel that they can come to us. We also, our teachers have the kids working in groups a lot in their classes. There's a lot of cooperative learning going on. And so the teachers, through that, are instilling, they're modeling. And they're allowing that time for the kids to talk to each other and kind of keep each other in check and different things. We do have different avenues in the school.
And part of that message was sent externally also outside of the district when we had Ali come from Rachel's Challenge and to talk to our students and say that this is, those kind of things are unacceptable, and whether they're comfortable coming to Amy or myself or someone else in the district or in the school or a friend that says, hey, one of my friends is having a hard time. I've actually gotten an email message because either I was too busy or the child was too busy, go figure. And so I've gotten email messages in the past. So there's, with our technology, there's a lot of different ways that they can reach us as well.
And the adults definitely in the building, even the women serving lunch, I mean, they take a vested interest in the students, and so they have come to us and said, there was an issue with this when a student told me this. So we have each teacher develop relationships with different students, so everybody feels like they have at least have one person to go to.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been very helpful. Thank you very much. Okay, next item on the agenda, superintendent's report.
With the eBird update, each of the subcommittees are continuing their work. The class size committee, we had to cancel our meeting because of inclement weather, but we're meeting tomorrow. And continuing our process, and a survey will be going out to families and community members from that committee. Yesterday, I know a technology committee met to continue their work. And Kevin Weck's meeting with Kim to review some of the proposals he's received regarding the high school pool and some of the financial data with regards to that. And Amy, you're meeting with Shannon.
We met once.
So we're moving forward, and we have an admin meeting Thursday. We'll take a look at our timeline and when we want to have our reports completed into the board so that we can wrap up the process. With regards to the school calendar, first, before we talk about next year's calendar, this year's calendar, we had the two, we extended our Christmas break a little bit with 2 days. And we will be making up those days. That'll be at the end of the school year that we'll make up those days, but it will not impact graduation dates. These graduation dates that have been published will still use those graduation dates. And
I just want to interject, I asked Kevin to say that because I know I've had that question a lot, so thank you for that. So for people scheduling vacations and graduations, so thank you.
And then included in the board book are 2 options for next year's school calendar, the 14-15. And we'll be asking the board to take action at our next board meeting. The only real difference when you look at those is where the 2 of the institute days fall. And the reason for that is whether or not we end up being a polling place or not.
I have a quick question about that. So the junior high is going to be a polling place at the upcoming election?
For this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
So does that mean that's not gonna, I didn't call you or email you because I just got some voter registration cards in the mail and it says that my polling place is at the junior high, which I'd already read on here that we weren't doing that. So I was a little surprised when I got that card in the mail today, so.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Okay. I mean, I just, it was disparate from this announcement, so I was just trying to figure out which is true.
It was a prank, Shannon.
Thank
I just
you.
sent that to you.
It went to my mother too, so you couldn't have figured that out. So I know you're not just teasing me.
So I had talked right before we had break. I had talked to one of the coordinators for election, and I explained to him kind of what the setup would look like because there's only really one location that we could have the poll take place if students were in session. And so he was planning on coming out that first week, but obviously we had the freeze. And so he and I are in coordination as far as if it's still going to be considered a polling place or not, or whether they're going to need to send out another postcard.
Okay, well, just so you know, the postcards did go out, and so.
Now, what about for next year, John? Did you receive anything?
I have not received anything for next year yet.
Because I know Manning did receive a letter.
Okay.
But once again, for us, unless schools unless it was a big issue for an election last year, but unless school is not in session, then and we perhaps have some sort of professional development that day, it's not the best location because it's a very chilly area. It's right in the foyer of the gymnasium right there, and it's pretty chilly, and they don't tend to like it too much. So I know that they were looking at different options as well.
Okay. Just so you know.
Sure, right, and.
There's a whole group of people that think they're voting at the junior high. So.
Right, and I know Manning for next year received a letter indicating that they would not be a polling place, but.
They would not be a polling place?
Right, they would not be.
Because I've had people ask me that, like, why are we having a polling place at a school? Especially like an elementary school.
Right, and they, I know they're trying to pass legislation so that you can no longer use schools, but that didn't go anywhere, and I think they're discouraging the use of schools, but I think in some cases they need to. But if, if that's the case, then calendar B, then our institute days fall on those election dates, and therefore we eliminate our students being in the building during those days. So we kind of built that into one of the options, so if we want to take a look at that possibility. But in terms of the start and end date, those don't change. Breaks are the same. It's just those 2 institute days that would change. So,
and has the calendar committee, they've looked over these?
Right.
Okay.
They were the ones that brought forth these two.
Oh, okay, great.
Calendars. And then in conjunction with Marker School District and Westmont Police Department, our high school will be hosting a heroin education evening on January 22nd at 7:00 p.m. in the high school auditorium. And that's open to parents, community members, and also if people want to bring their student with them, they're more than welcome to. And then also, then in February, we have another evening in conjunction with the Westmont Police Department, and that's an online internet safety evening. So again, an opportunity to educate parents And also, again, if you'd like to bring your student with you, they're more than welcome. And that'll be February 5th at 7 o'clock p.m. in the Westmont High School auditorium. So we have those 2 evenings coming up.
Kevin, quick question on that, and I don't know if you know the answer.
Sure.
From an internet safety standpoint, are we, like, is this for younger kids also, like, kind of how to browse safely and not come across bad sites, or is this a little bit more about, like, identity theft kind of related things for older kids? Or?
I think it's geared more towards the social network and young people possibly sharing too much information, personal information, and possibly putting themselves in a dangerous situation. I think it's more along those lines.
Okay.
But I can check with Mike Weibler and see if we'll address some of the other issues as well.
Okay, thank you.
And then in terms of communication, and I did update the board books so that you have these numbers, but we've had our website now for a couple of months. I believe we came online mid-November. So we've had the new website. And one of the things that we've been encouraging families is to subscribe to the e-alerts. That's how they can find out information regarding the school district. For instance, when we were having our school closures, we were communicating that in a variety of ways. One was through the e-alerts. And so right now, we know that we have, for our district homepage, we have 351 subscribers to the e-alert. For the Manning homepage, 238, Miller 85, the junior high homepage, 177. The daily announcements at the junior high, 66. The high school homepage, 186. And then daily announcements at the high school, 29. And so now that we have that information, we are going to be sending out additional communication to our families, reminding them to subscribe to these various alerts and how to do it again. Because we know probably when people receive that email, you get so many, you kind of lose track of them. But we're going to start again launching that communication so that we get more of our families to subscribe to those alerts.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. I had asked for this information because, well, 2 things. I had heard from some parents that said that they weren't getting daily announcements on a regular basis. And, you know, you try to get that message out there. And so I know the junior high and high school put out at least 1 a day, sometimes 2. And so I had asked for that because I think that, you know, like, we're so ingrained in that, you know, like, this is the new website, and I think there's some people that haven't done that, so they've been missing out on some things. So I would love to have something go to the families, so that, yeah, and so I appreciate doing that, because there is some really valuable information there that goes out. So, but I think what happened, from what I understand, talking to some people, that they went in and registered, but they didn't do that next step and go get the other steps, because it's different than the last time. And the second thing was just, I was very happy to see that everybody found out about the school closings, you know. But it kind of dawned on me again to make sure that we have all this. And so I have to thank you, all the administrators, for doing that in so many levels, because then people can get that information. But so thank you for that. Appreciate it.
If I could, I want to echo that on the school closure communication. Not only how strongly the word got out when it happened, but the advance notice that there was going to be a superintendent's meeting on Sunday, that, you know, this is when we'll know, this is when we'll make the decision, this is when you'll hear from it. The pre-notice that it was coming, and so people were anticipating something one way or the other, and then the fact that I thought it was very strong, and people that I know normally don't pay attention got that message. So I thought that was wonderful. I also want to say on the communication standpoint, and again with the website, I was thrilled that I was trying to remember, when is the heroin one, what's the internet safety one? I went on the homepage and bam, current events. It was there. It was easy to find. It was accurate. That was delightful, being able to get to that so quick. The other thing I want to say on the EPIRT aspect, I really want to point something out to the credit of our staff. One of the things on the tech committee meeting we're talking about is, we're looking at, what if there's plus 10%, minus 10%, that kind of thing to the budgets. With a minus 10% on something that's already thin, part of it is you're almost limited to looking at staff reductions, that kind of thing. And that's a personal thing for this is their job, this is their livelihood, stuff like that. And I really got to say, I was very, very impressed. Some of these people just kind of stopped and said, you know what? At the end of the day, this is about the kids. We're looking at what is the best thing for the kids. How can we minimize the impact to the kids? When you're talking about giving up part of your workday, your income, stuff like that, and you say, you know, but this is really about what's in regards for the, I was just very impressed. So, you know, credit to the kinds of staffs that we've got, that we've been building, and where their focus is admirable.
I would also have to say I heard from a couple of parents who only call for certain things that they were extremely excited about that pre-notice and how it happens, because it's one of those things that just kind of, well, it happens, I just don't know how. So that was wonderful. Okay. Okay, are there any board reports?
I just have a quick one. It's really a personal message. So we all know we take time away from our families for this. So Rose, even though I missed dinner tonight, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Rose.
Just a quick, I just have a quick a thing that I have now heard from all the board members, and we'll schedule our ISB self-evaluation again. And so we want to try to do this once a year, and so I'll try to secure that date and let everybody know tomorrow what that'll be. So it's nice to have that as something that we do once a year. So anyone else?
I'll just say the summer school EPERT committee met, and we talked a little bit about, it was kind of a rundown of what we have done, the district has done in the past, because we know we haven't had summer school programs. There was kind of a gap in there where we didn't have any, and we had some kind of bringing it back slowly. So we kind of had a history lesson on what types of things we have done in the past, and then what kind of resources are available, and touched a little bit on where we want to see it go for the future. So it was a good start to that committee.
And I don't know, I've been having some email trouble this week, but so I don't have the details, so I'm not going to do the Westmont Wildcat cheerleaders the credit that they sorely deserve. But I know that the cheerleaders were down in Florida and had wild success. I believe 3 teams, 2 first place, 1 second place. And again, I apologize to all the Wildcats for having a son and not knowing those details as well as I probably should. But just want to say congratulations. There are so many of our students that participate in that program, and they were tremendously successful, and I've heard from many families what a wonderful time they had. And you see the smiles of these girls with their trophies that are taller than they are, and it's just really exciting to see that our community can go off to Florida to a national championship and be so successful. So congratulations to them.
Anything else? All right, are there any public comments? Can we all look at Linda? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining, personnel issues, student discipline, and probable litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Caparelli?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hancock?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
We do not have a vote after closed session.